Hi, I'm a Dodge Caravan, and this is what I did last week. 11.1 came out, and I was actually pretty impressed with how it looks. I stated before that I wasn't really excited about goblins, I don't really care that much for them, and I wasn't really looking forward to the patch. But Tuesday came and I started getting into everything, and honestly, it was just so nice. The music in the Ringing Deeps was the first thing that I noticed, and this jazz song here is just incredible. I started off by completing any quests that did not reward reputation because I was waiting for Sunday for the Dark Moon Fair buff to come out. Because I'm trying to min-max how much rep I'm getting. With that 10% extra bonus, I was able to get a little bit more once I actually got into those. But then once I got into the Undermine, first of all, it just looks incredible when you first walk in. It kind of looks like Goblin Vegas, and on the launch trailer for this patch, I saw someone mention that it kind of looks like Borderlands, and ever since I read that, I can't unsee it, and it just made me love this even more. But as I'm playing through this, I'm just feeling like this is an actual city, like this is a lived-in city. And it just feels so much more personable than any other zone in the War Within so far. The map looks big, but it's a pretty small zone, especially once you start getting into the drive stuff. And it was just so fun going around exploring, walking into all these different buildings, and just seeing what it's all about. Like, there's so much to explore here, and I love it. But going back to the music, once you get into Undermine, it is just so freaking good. The WoW music team has absolutely killed it in the War Within, and this is no exception. It is so good. Both the music and the scenery actually all remind me of Arkham City as well. And it just feels like an actual place. It feels like I'm actually with these people here, with these goblins, and I'm just experiencing this zone in a way that just, I don't really know how to explain this, but it's just such a well done zone. Everything about it, from visuals to audio, was perfect. The one thing I don't like, which I've talked about before, is that you cannot fly here, which is so stupid. I don't know why Blizzard has this fascination with giving us flying, taking it away, giving us flying, and then taking it away. It's such a bad feeling. I understand that the map is small and you can get around it pretty quick with Drive, but also let me fly, because I've been flying for the past 6 months. Longer, actually, if you consider all the Dragonflight. I think that was always flying all the time. So I just think that's such a stupid decision. I really don't like it, and that's the only gripe I have so far about this patch. Only major one, I should say, because there are some things I don't like about the Drive system, which I'll talk about now. Overall, I think Drive is okay. It's not as great as Dragon Flying felt when it came out. I'm used to my ground mounts being able to make a 90-degree turn immediately, and because this doesn't do that, it's kind of frustrating. I also feel like the Undermine really puts the Drive system in a position to fail because it's not open, and there's a lot of like small corridors and stuff. So you can't ever drive fast for too long without bumping into a wall or like having to make a very fast reaction to something that's happening. So as great as the Undermine is, I don't really think it shows off how good Drive could be, because I think there is some cool stuff there. It's just not well executed in this specific zone. A couple other things that bother me about it is that sometimes it will jump instead of drift, and I don't know if that's just a setting or something I'm doing, but like I just hold down my spacebar and he will jump. But that's been kind of driving me crazy, especially on the races that I'm trying to do. Those are just so frustrating when the thing that I want to happen doesn't happen. I also don't like that you get dismounted whenever you interact with an NPC. But like I said, overall, there is something cool there. It's just, I think there's going to be some more iterations they need to do on it before it's considered to be as good or even close to dragon riding. In addition to that, we got a couple of new delves. I went into both of them. Excavation Site 9 just seems like a short and sweet type of delve. I love the aesthetic. I love the pink and purple colors. Side Street Sluice is not really my favorite. I don't really like it. I just need to play it some more, but it's a little bit confusing to navigate, and the stories aren't really that fun. So we'll see how that goes, but right now it's definitely looking like it's going to be one that I just skip whenever it's bountiful. I also jumped into the new dungeon on normal, Operation Floodgate, and overall I thought it was pretty cool. It's kind of hard to gauge how good it is on normal because we were all just flying through it. But overall, I think it looks pretty cool. It seems like it'll be relatively quick. I think on harder difficulties, it might be a little bit annoying with some of the trash packs pulling when you don't want them to. But I don't hate it, and that's a good start. And I also like that it's not a mega dungeon. I like that they just made a regular old few boss dungeon for this patch, which is a nice change of pace, I think. In addition to that, a couple things I want to mention is we got some new campsites for the login screen. Nothing really there excites me. The new add-on list is fantastic. I love the way they set this up. I love so much that I can finally just search an add-on instead of having to scroll and try to find it. Having the events list in the map is another fantastic change. I think this is so good and a little bit overdue, but I'm glad they did it now. The last thing I want to give kudos for is the challenge mode that they released for Awakening the Machine. It doesn't really add that much difficulty, it just takes out the time between waves. So from start to finish, it took about 5 minutes in challenge mode. I still would like to see something more be done with that. I think that is a pretty unfinished mode of the game, but this change is definitely one that is appreciated. But overall, I've been really enjoying 11.1. I've spent a lot of time in Undermine this past week and just really enjoying it. I'm very excited for the new season to start, and I think there's plenty of content to get through and many months to do it, and I'm just excited to have this new stuff to play. And actually, speaking of the new season, let's talk about that a little bit, because my warrior for the longest time has been sitting at an item level of 633. I was able to get, from doing the zone weekly stuff, I was able to pick up a weapon and a neck piece. I simmed both of those. The neck piece ended up being garbage, but the weapon at maximum upgrade actually was a better piece than my offhand, so I was able to swap out those two pieces. And then once I got Renown 7 with the Undermine, I bought the boots and upgraded them to 642, as that's as far as I could go. And in doing so, I was able to get up to an item level of 635, so that's where I'm starting Season 2 at 635. I jumped on my Paladin as well and did the Theater Troop on him and got an upgrade there, so I'll probably try to do at least that event because it's the easiest and doesn't require a whole lot of effort. And then actually speaking of Season 2, in Season 1 I ended that at a rating of 2,624, and there's a few goals that I have for Season 2. My high-end goal that I'm okay if I don't reach it, but I'll just have it there as just like this, if I have time and I want to go for it type of goal, and that is to get a 3K rating. Because that would unlock the second Mythic Plus rating mount. I don't know what level keys you need. I think it's like mostly 12s and 13s. But if I don't get 3K, at the very least, I would like to, of course, get all of my portals unlocked, so a 10 in each dungeon. And I would like to push a little bit this season and get at least 4 11s done. The main goal that I want to focus on, though, is ending the season with best in slot gear, at least from Mythic Plus. A couple of other goals that I have that are just kind of there. I'm not striving too hard to get them, but they're just kind of in the back of my mind. The first one is that I would like to have at least 3 orange parses in Warcraft logs this season. I surprisingly had 1 for Necrotic Wake in Season 1, so that was cool. And then the last thing is that I don't want to overdo Mythic Plus too much, but I would really love to be able to get at least one of my alts to a 2K rating. If anything, maybe instead of doing 10 keys on my warrior per week, maybe do like 5 or 6 and do the other 4 or 5 on an alt. I think it would be really, really cool. And the first time I've ever had 2 characters doing Mythic Plus simultaneously and getting a decent rating. But outside of all of that, there was some other stuff I wanted to talk about, starting with the Kalimdor Cup, which started on Tuesday. It took a couple of hours for me to finish everything. I pretty much one-shot everything in gold. There were a couple of races that took 2 or more tries. I think Feralis was one that took 3 because I kept getting stuck on a hill on the regular track. But overall, I loved it. I've been looking forward to this for probably a month or so. I love dragon races. That was actually probably the thing I was most looking forward to on Tuesday, was getting into these Kalimdor Cup races. On Wednesday, I did my weekly stream here on YouTube as well as on Twitch, and a lot of it was just spent doing the intro to the Undermine and checking out the new zone. So if you want to see my reactions and thoughts in real time as I'm seeing it all and hearing it all for the first time, that would be the place to do it. I will be streaming again this week on Wednesday. There should just be more Undermine stuff. I would like to do Mythic Plus on stream, but just as a DPS pugger, I don't want to spend the majority of it just sitting there in the queue, so we'll see how that all works out, but I may or may not do some Mythic Plus on Wednesday as well. If anything, I might actually just play my tank and healer in Mythic Plus on stream days, because then the Mythic Plus queues will be quicker. So actually, I might do that. We'll see. So if you want to come see me live, you can do so again on YouTube or Twitch around like 12 to 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. From there, I want to talk about quickly the 2 new mounts that I got from the trading post, starting with the Shimmer Mist Freerunner. This reminds me of a different mount. I think it's like for getting 100 exalted reps or something like that, so I'm not the biggest fan. In addition to that, I got the Pearlescent Butterfly, which looks fine. It kind of reminds me of a Guild Wars 2 mount or something from Final Fantasy. There's another butterfly that is also available that I had to freeze because I just don't have the tendies for it, so hopefully I can buy that next month. Then lastly, let's start with achievements, because I got quite a bit this week. I started off at 43,905. When I logged in on Tuesday, I had actually lost about 100 points, so I hate when that happens, but don't know where that all went. I didn't note how many achievement points I was down to on Tuesday, so my math is just using the last week total. So I'm ending the week at 44,180 points, so I was able to get 275 more points. Officially cracked into 44k again. I completed all 3 stories and found all the treasures in the 2 new delves. And then in Undermine, I explored it all, I killed the 10 rares, I got the treasures of Undermine, I got the 9/10ths of the law achievement, which is just a different treasures achievement. I had to click on a few different things, including 5 rats for You're My Friend Now, as well as 25 cans for that can-do attitude. And then I spent some time doing scrap jobs, hoping to get them out from there. I did not, but I was able to get the absolutely 0 littering achievement, which is to complete 50 of those jobs. I did spend a lot of time doing pet battles this past week, so I was able to get the Undermine Safari achievement, which is just to catch all the new pets. And then I was lastly able to get the Family Battler of Undermine achievement, which is just the one to defeat the 4 pet masters with a team of all beast and dragonkin and magic pets and so on. But that is it for me. The first week of 11.1 is done. We are starting Season 2 today. I'm very excited about this. I'm excited to see where I end up at the end of this season and which goals I do and do not obtain. So I think my focus for the first few weeks of this season is probably going to be Mythic Plus. I probably am not going to spend a whole lot of time doing achievements unless I'm just waiting for queues to get accepted into groups. But yeah, I'm just stoked. I'm really excited to play. But that's me. Let me know what you think of this patch though. What's going on in your world? What are you doing? What are you liking? What are you not liking? What are you playing? Anything and everything. I would love to hear about it. Let me know down below in the comments. Once again, a couple weeks ago, I posted a video talking about my 18 years in WoW, and I really had a good time making that video, so I would appreciate if everyone checked that out. But I will end it here. Have a great Season 2 start. Hopefully the servers hold up and it's not too bad. I will talk at you next week. Have a good one. Be safe. I love you.